Good morning, Jason. Thank you for joining us for this interview series. Uh,
Sure.
uh, will this series is covering the aspects of career, technology, where are we headed, how is technology impacting our future? That's the theme of the discussion. So if we can
Sure.
start with you studied in Georgia and around marketing, and your career took shape around sales and marketing. If you could walk us through from education till where you are. Uh,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So went to Oglethorpe here in Atlanta, studied business and economics. And upon graduating, I took a detour and tried to play golf for a living for a little bit.
Mhm.
And was kind of not in the business world for about 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
And when I decided that I wasn't going to cut it as a golfer, I took a job doing sales for a chemical company and had a region. And um, I was traveling a lot. It was even though it was in state in Georgia, and I didn't want to travel by car that much. It was gone, every day.
Mm.
And so I got a job with AT&T, and it was right around the time that they were building out their digital presence in local markets. So they had bought yellowpages.com. So we were selling, um, digital advertising to local businesses. And I did that for about 6 months and decided that I wanted to be in management. And I thought I had a lot more to give than as an individual contributor.
Right.
So I went through management assessment and passed it, and then got into the national side of things where we dealt with national brands like, Penske, Geico, Allstate, any major advertiser in the 50 states, and worked through a couple of different roles there, all of them built around generating sales and cost savings. So I started out kind of restructuring our collections and billing department, customer service department. And
And
then
all this was in AT&T.
all this was at AT&T. Yep.
Okay.
And so, we implemented some technology that allowed us to do the job a little more accurately and much quicker.
Mhm.
So we realized revenue faster, we were more accurate in errors and collection data. And then moved over to what they called a national sales marketing manager. And it was really just managing a group of national sellers.
Mm.
And so we put together incentive plans for our agencies that we sold through. We put together some pricing models, and just did that for about 4 years, on top of everything else I did there. And then
Mm.
one of my sales managers left. He's from Richmond, Virginia, and he went back to Richmond
Mm.
and got a job with an agency and wanted me to come on board and help them build new business development for them.
Okay.
So I left, and I didn't leave Atlanta. I just commuted to Richmond. So my goal of not being on the road was squashed once again. So I was on the road just about every week. And we built a business there, and net new sales from roughly about $7 million a year to about $24 million a year. So
This is
um,
the Martin agency.
this is the Martin Agency, yeah.
Okay.
And so we were on the local uh, go-to-market strategy side. So we would develop mostly with big brands like a Pizza Hut or Geico.
Mm.
We worked with Geico again, did Meineke, CarMax, those types of places that had multiple locations across the country.
Mm.
And we built go-to-market strategies for each one of their local markets. And it included everything from, out-of-home advertising to print advertising to digital advertising, Google AdWords, those types of things. So built that up. One of the vendors that we used approached me. I was there about 7 years, and they wanted to build a agency team,
Mm.
and they specialized in impression-based advertising. And I was familiar with them because we utilized them. And so I left and went to work there. I worked there for about 2 years, built the team up, and they went IPO and
Mm.
things changed. So I left there, started with another company, which was a UK based company that was trying to drive a North America market presence. So I was building up their North American sales team, and I worked there for about 2 years. And then I did some just consulting and worked for some folks that I knew, kind of building up sales processes. And then I discovered Frontline, or they discovered me, I should say. And I came on board with Frontline in 2017 to rebuild their sales and marketing. Rebuild's a strong word, to really build it. They didn't have much of a process or institutionalized belief around what sales and marketing should be. So I
Mm.
built that up, and in in 2021, we had the best year we've ever had. And there was an investment in software prior to that that just hadn't been panning out. The old CEO was, bent on making it work, spent a lot of money and time. And the two founders and the board asked me if I would step in and take over. And so in April of 2022, is the start of Q2, and in 2022, I took over, and we're now 2 years into a 3-year rebuild process, and we're when things are starting to take shape. So
Yeah.
it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, it has been. And on a lighter note, if Max Point went for IPO and you
Hmm.
built the team, ideally you should have become very rich, given.
Ideally, yes. I always say I was a millionaire on paper for about, you know, 6 weeks. We had we had a strike price. It went well over our strike price. We couldn't exercise any options
Right.
until a later date. And again, one of the reasons I left was I didn't believe in sort of the valuation that we had put forth.
Mm.
There's a sales teams do it a lot. They didn't do anything that most people don't do, but they valued based on average rep,
Right.
right? So if your average rep's doing $1 million and they wanted to hire 20 more reps so they could forecast $20 million. Well, reps and territories are not created equal. So I think when that started to get uncovered and some things started to come to light, the price just dropped.
Mm.
So at the end of it, when I could have exercised my options, I would have probably owed them money.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I didn't exercise my options, but it was a fun experience. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
And it taught me a lot. So yeah,
Cool. I'll come to frontline selling in a minute. You
sure.
had three good success stories. You do have three good success stories where you really helped revenue grew from X to Y in
Hmm.
Martin Agency, Max Point, Adestra. What is the learning if people like us or anyone listening to this podcast can get out of this? What played? I mean, what did you put at play to achieve that?
Yeah, it's really utilizing folks for the talents that they have. And specifically, you could even go back to AT&T and said, we kind of turned the Georgia territory around by vertically assigning folks that were strong,
Mhm.
whether it was selling to physicians or selling to, insurance agents. It was, you put people in a position to gain on their strength. Specifically in the Martin agency, it was really development of assets and execution, right? We didn't have the ability to do some of the things that we ended up doing. So it was really vetting out vendors, adding services, putting together, a cohesive plan. Most of that, when you look at the growth in the Martin agency, it was I'm not going to say it was overnight, but it was pretty close, and most of it was just me.
Mm.
And because we had existing relationships with clients, and then we were expanding to their location-based services. And once we got to that point, we hired folks to manage it.
Right.
And really that was, just again, managing and upselling was really just about keeping abreast of the latest trends, keeping abreast of the latest technologies that would help us penetrate the markets even better than we were.
Mm.
Um, it was all about tracking and data. So when you have that on your side, it's a lot easier to maintain and upsell. A Destra and Max Point was really, again, Max Point was a newly found function selling to agencies.
Mm.
There, when you look at and I say agencies, it was more mid-market.
Mm.
Like if you look at like a Martin agency,
Mm.
these agencies are neglected most of the time because most people go to the top 10%. And
Right.
that's where probably 70% of the money is spent.
Mm.
Well, marketing's a very big marketplace, right? There's hundreds of billions of dollars spent a year. So 30% of that market was a pretty significant
Mm.
chunk. And so the uh, the idea was just how do we develop a program to cater to those mid-market agencies and give them the opportunities that the Martin agency created by getting these abilities and capabilities to deliver at
Mm.
a more market-driven level. So it was, two of those things I would say were, I'd like to think that it was just my wizardry, but it was really the building the right design and the right capabilities to offer and in getting the right people in place to do it. I mean, Max Point, we grew a team significantly, from 4 to 24. And then Adestra was really, it was email marketing, and email marketing is just like every other email marketing solution, right? You just have to find the differentiators, and you've got to be able to train the team to be able to find what the pain points are
Mm.
and the process that they currently have. If
Mm.
they're with a competitor, what are the things they don't like, and can we capitalize on that, and do we differentiate? Most of the time we did, and the simple fact of the ease of use and the UI was definitely different, drag and drop features, and it was a lot more intuitive.
Mm.
So, the ability to track and easily A/B test things, those were all big differentiators for us. But it was really about hiring the right people and training them the right way
Mm.
to talk to
Focus on the
clients.
execution. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So now I did work in WPP, which is the parent company for Ogilvy and Mather, JWT, all that. It's world's largest advertisement group and marketing agency. And you are right,
Yep.
most of the revenue in that group, in that segment, goes to these top tier companies, Publicis,
Sure.
Unicom, WPP. But there are
Yep.
thousands and thousands of these small and medium agencies sitting there. And if I understand, MaxPoint was an aggregator kind of a platform for these agencies.
Yeah, it was. So we were an impression-based advertising company that really took a different approach. I mean, when you look at impression-based advertising, this was back in, the day that I was there. It's changed significantly since, but they had a unique offering to be able to look at microcosms of the direct marketing market, right? So if you look at Atlanta, for instance, like
Mhm.
the DM in Atlanta goes all the way to almost Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Mhm.
And that's a big market. So when you purchased advertising and impression, whether it was remnant space or a designated space, it went to a lot of people that you weren't going to sell to,
Mhm.
because and then they would sell you on impressions because the impressions were huge because the marketplace was huge.
Right.
So what Max Point was able to do was really take in some, they used firmographic data, social data, economic data, and they really put these folks into, for lack of a better word, it was birds of a feather flock together, right? So here, and the example I always gave was, I lived right down the street from Evander Holyfield, who's a famous boxer,
I know.
right? Yeah. So Evander and I have vastly different buying habits
Mhm.
and abilities,
Right.
but in their digital zips that they created, we were in
Being the
different digital
same.
zip codes, but we were in the same zip code as it relates to the
Mhm.
USPS, right? So it was a unique offering at the time, and you were able to pinpoint better accuracy in where you wanted to deliver based on your ideal client.
So coming to your frontline selling, you did a lot of sales stints, VP of sales, and then you took Chief Revenue Officer responsibility at frontline selling.
Mhm.
What is the difference? I mean, and both look like they overlap a lot. And if you could, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, well, all transparency, was just a title change.
okay,
It was just an elevation in title for successes,
okay.
so it wasn't the overall job responsibilities didn't change much. There was a little bit of equity earned
Hmm.
with the increase and that, but it wasn't, I was still running the sales and marketing side of things.
Understood. Understood. So, frontline selling, right? There are so many
Hmm.
sales intelligence platforms out there, like Apollo, Outreach. The many new ones are coming. In fact,
Yep.
there is one sitting right next to me in my co-working space where I work. Okay, and how does frontline selling uh, recommend the right? I mean, it itself doesn't have in-house sales intelligence tools, if I understand correctly. It actually
Correct.
picks the right one for the customer and takes care of guides the entire journey, and it enables the sales for a given organization. Is that a right understanding?
Yeah, so yeah, and what we do is I mean, simply put, it's lead generation for our clients. Now, whether that lead generation takes the form of email capabilities or whether it takes the form of our core methodology, which is calling. We have most of our clients engage us to get a list of their ICP. We do data research and find key players inside the organizations, and we begin calling into those organizations.
Cold calling.
Much different, yeah. We use intent data to help bolster some of our, prioritization of accounts. We haven't found the silver bullet there yet.
Mm.
I'm sure there's one that's better than the next, and there's one better than that one, but we haven't really found one that has a significant lift and the sense of how we engage in with our clients, and do we get to market faster? Do we get results quicker? There's a small increase, but it's not great. So we still dabble in that. The benefit our clients have for engaging with us is that they don't have to experiment with those things we do. We have the proven methodology and approach that works better than most cold outreach for a couple of reasons, but the main one is we look at specifically to identify the challenge that our clients solve,
Mm.
and that message stays consistent. In the process of outreach and again attacking at an account level, we're able to gain more market intelligence than just traditional outreach because we're talking to people. And the one thing you can do when you talk to someone is ask them questions. And we found that 99% of the time people will answer the questions. And you can't get that from just a sole email outreach, or you can't even get it from advertising and driving through intent data. So we kind of marry all of the best technology that we can find along with our core methodology, which is account-based outreach.
And these reps, you call them sales reps, SDRs. What do you call them?
Yeah, SDRs. So we've got a team of sales development representatives that call on behalf of our clients.
So there's a lot of new tech, especially Gen AI coming. In fact, I was seeing demos of some of the products where AI is able to call customers and almost mimic a human interaction. So dynamic that based on customers' response, it is able to talk as if an SDR could talk. And one solution could span out multiple threads, which could, I can create 100 SDR solution for a customer with that AI deployment. So with this penetration of new technology, what is your forecast where SDR role will land? Will we see decimation of whole SDR role? If you could throw some light on that.
Sure. We use AI and some of the generation of messaging. We obviously tweak it with a human touch. We use some AI in our dialing apparatus, as well as, automated voicemail drops. But I think it's really going to come down to legislation, right? You can't dial right now unless you opt in to receive it. And it's We've looked at it. We actually worked with a company for a little bit to try and help them train their AI
Mhm.
uh, to talk like us and act like us, but it didn't pan out. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's going to depend on legislation, and does that make what we do obsolete? I don't think so, because I think regardless of how well AI can adapt and answer, it's still AI. And I think we're a ways off for it to be able to replace something like this with the intuitive nature of what we do. I've heard, I've heard a lot of the AI dialers. I've heard a lot of the AI customer service, voiceovers and things like that. Um, we can, you can still tell, and I think it's comfortability and legislation will be the two things that we'll see that will affect us. But I don't see it being a non-human um, solution for quite some time, in my opinion.
I don't think the whole sales as such will be replaced by AI, but certain repetitive tasks uh, uh, is what everybody is predicting, not the whole sales, or not even the whole
Yeah,
talent acquisition. For example, talent acquisition is one area where AI is penetrating massively. It is able to,
yeah,
because most of the TA team, what they do is they make a call to candidate and fix an appointment for the interview. And that if AI can do a lot of TA's work, I won't say it will replace TA department, but a lot of TA's work can be replaced by AI. Similarly, in sales, it won't replace sales department. It's impossible. It will never be able to. But there could be some tasks that probably AI will. But like you rightly said, it won't happen overnight. And ultimately, AI has to learn from the data that we created or we are going to
sure.
create. So yeah, probably it will be 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, time will tell. And
Yeah,
probably legislations and a lot of governments and people's forces will come into effect. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I think there's right. I mean, again, right now it's how do you enhance the current role with utilizing AI?
True.
And we've embraced it as much as we can right now, and we'll continue to do that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there's always gonna be parts that it will not perform well.
Yeah. Yeah. And sales is one aspect, Jason, but in your perspective, uh, where do you see the whole world of work headed with this whole penetration of new technology? Uh, what I mean by that is, let's take your day to day and my day to day. I used
Yep,
to take a whole weekend to produce one article. Okay. Now I take
yep,
1 hour to produce similar or even better article.
yep,
So that leaves me almost 12 to not 12, 16 to 18 hours in the weekend to do something else. I agree, we are more productive now. But that one element alone has made me tell my one of my content writers that, hey, I may not need your services because earlier I could produce only one in the weekend and I was taking your help to produce one more during the week. Now I can do two, three in the weekend. So
sure.
right there, I could cut down one person's work. If we go on and so forth, and if that's one element, if you could throw a light, what is your perspective and vision where we are headed?
Yeah, I think your point is well taken and true. The idea right now for me, I think there's stages to it, but I think that it's really right now is how do we become more efficient with what we're currently doing? And I'll give you an example. Like we had the calls that we created for our clients, we used to record and we had transcribers listen to it and type out the transcription. Now that was just 3 years ago, two
Mm,
years ago, and now AI does it.
mm,
Now, is it wholly accurate? Not all the time, but it's 90% accurate and you get the gist of the conversation. There may be terminology or nomenclature within industry or verticals that it doesn't quite understand and can put into context. But, now we do that. And so, yeah, I mean, did we have to displace jobs in order to make that happen? We did.
mm,
But It's also at a fraction of the cost, and it's a significantly faster turnaround time. So, I think everybody could point to a role or an event that they have significantly trimmed down either the cost or the time or both, and by utilizing AI. I think the fear I have specifically in sales is that what we have to try and to harness is we don't make our salespeople lazier, right?
Mm.
We make them more efficient by utilizing and gaining access to information faster. A perfect example is we're working with a company called Shadow Seller, and it's a generative AI and much similar interface to Chat GPT. And it's around building sales plans and call planning for sales teams. So where to your point, where it would take, if you look at sales teams, they're comprised of A, B, and C players, right? And we know A players produce most of the revenue. But if you can take a C player, you're not going to get them to an A. They're just not capable of it. You get them to a B, and you get a B to a B plus, you make their jobs and your revenue a lot greater and a lot more successful. And the idea around this, how do you help them take this job, this planning, this in ingesting and digesting of the data around a particular client or prospect and the solution, and build a plan that drives to understanding what the client needs, what they want, what their challenges are, what next steps should be. And they can't, a C rep would take 3 days to do that. A lot of research. They probably miss a step, probably miss a couple of questions they should ask. And now the utilization of Shadow will allows reps to put together, ingest data and regurgitate something that is of a cohesive call plan versus, just going at it and on a whim or on the same way they're doing things now. So the idea is, right, if you can save time researching and designing, you could spend more time talking to people. So that's how a C rep becomes a B rep is you get them to get more opportunities to talk to people, have a more structured conversation, and success should prevail. So yeah, I think it's twofold. I mean, there's going to be job displacement. There's no doubt. But then I think the other thing is we have to look about how it can elevate other jobs and make us more successful and efficient.
Mm. True, true, true. Given all this, Jason, what would you recommend next generation kids to learn and plan their career?
Specifically around AI?
No, no, no. Till even now, but till a few
Yep.
years back or a couple of years back, at least in India, everybody is after computer science engineering. Okay, engineering and learning computer science and IT.
Yep.
Given what is going on, if one person can produce 4 or 5 people's work, and there is only going to be so much of work in the world, right?
Yep.
At least in knowledge-based work. What would we recommend our kids to pursue in college and plan their career?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, you could golf. um, um, again, I think that there's skilled labor, there's skilled tasks, there's, again, you look at content or you look at design, um, these are all functions that AI can learn and will do. I think the human to human aspect of any role
Okay.
will be maintained, so um, I think again, I mean, I'm partial to sales. I love selling. I still am one of the few I think that thinks it's a noble profession. I think if it's done correctly, we've not done ourselves any favor in sales, but I think if it's done correctly, sales is a very noble profession and it's treated me very well.
Right.
Um, I mean, you look at, I mean, take me for example, business and economics. There's going to be economic models built around AI that will render some of the jobs and economic studies and everything probably obsolete, right?
Mhm.
And there will be business cases and business solutions that are brought forth by AI that will probably make some roles
Okay.
obsolete. But I think anything in running a business, sales, um, I just don't see that happening in the future, like at any time soon. I just still think there is a human to human aspect. And we could human relationships will always be there.
Yeah.
So in any role or industry where you can drive on human relationships, I think is going to be probably a pretty solid place to land.
True.
I also think that there could be AI fatigue at some point.
Yeah.
People, I don't, I get calls all the time that are AI driven, and I don't take them. I don't listen to them. I delete the messages. I can tell AI emails. I delete them immediately. So I think there's going to be exhaustion to it,
Mm.
and it will perfect itself to some degree where it's not as detectable. But I still think people desire human to human interaction. So I think anything in a field of that nature would be a valuable study for folks.
Interesting. Yeah. No, makes sense. Makes sense. What are your hobbies if you were open to sharing? Golf is are you still do you still play golf?
I play golf as often as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I like to I spend time with, I mean, my family is the most important thing to me. So, you know, playing soccer with the kids, or taking them out to play golf. We have a club right up the street from us, and we go to the pool in the summer. It's just really spending time with family and friends and golf. It's like, I don't if I've got 4 hours to give, it's going to be with my family or on the golf course. Like, people tell me how to pick up tennis and pickleball, and it's like, I would love to, but if I've got time to kill and I can get away, I'm going to go play golf.
Mm, very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Cool. Very good discussion. Any closing thoughts you have, Jason, before we wind up?
Yeah, no, I just, it's a good discussion. I do think, again, we gotta, as far as AI is concerned, we gotta ward off
Right.
uh the ability and the tendency to get lazy. And we
Mm,
just got to figure out how it can make us, again, more efficient. And, there's job displacement with bad economic, um, situations. So we've got to get past the idea that we could uncover a solution that could do something that somebody does. Doesn't mean they get displaced. It just means that role might change, right? So I think you've got to get creative and and be responsible with how we utilize it.
thank you so much, Jason. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise.